The House will come to order. Members will be at their seats. The clerk has opened the roll, and you may record your presence. Please rise and give your attention to our guest chaplain, Pastor Doug Hinkle, Garden City, Kansas, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Representative Ressman.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for all you've done for us. You've blessed us with all we need, even today and in this chamber, as the matters at hand are debated. In your word, you guide us saying, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to you, Lord, and you will make our paths straight. Lord, we tend to trust ourselves rather than you, to rely on our own abilities and good intentions instead of your sovereign goodness and loving care. Cause us to rely on you. Lord, people are often unreasonable, irrational, and self-centered. I pray that we would forgive them anyway. If we're kind, people may accuse us of having selfish, ulterior motives. Cause us to be kind anyway. As we're honest and sincere, people may doubt us. I pray we would be honest and sincere anyway. As we find serenity and joy, some may be jealous. Give us your joy anyway. Lord, the good we do today may soon be forgotten. I pray we would be about doing good anyway. Often we tend to allow others, and our concern for their response cause us to miss the mark. Jesus, I thank you that you can be our standard, that you can be the mark toward which we strive. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little bit. It's kind of subsided, yeah. It still hurts, but not like it did. Yeah. Yeah. Very well could be. Has every member had an opportunity to record their attendance? The clerk will close the roll and record the attendance. Introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 2408 by Committee on Taxation, requested by Josh Brewer on behalf of Habitat for Humanity of the Northern Flint Hills, an act concerning property taxation.
Messages from the Senate. The clerk will read.
The Senate adopts the Conference Committee report to agree to disagree on SB 105 and has appointed Senators Masterson, Blue, and Faust-Cadeau as second conferees on the part of the Senate. The Senate non-concurs in House amendments to SB 98 requested conference and has appointed Senators Peterson, Clues, and Corson as conferees on the part of the Senate. The Senate non-concurs in House amendments to SB 121 requested conference and has appointed Senators Dietrich, Vague, and Francisco as conferees on the part of the Senate. Announcing passage of SB 213, announcing passage of HB 2042 as amended, HB 2043 as amended, HB 2045 as amended, announcing passage of HB 2106, sub HB 2145. Senate Bill number 213 by Committee on Federal and State Affairs, an act concerning wildlife.
Speaker recognizes Majority Leader Croft for a motion to accede.
The Senate did not concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 98 and requested a conference. I move the House accede to the request of the Senate and that a conference committee be appointed.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader Croft for a motion to accede.
The Senate did not concur with House amendments to Senate Bill 121 and requested a conference. I move the House accede to the request of the Senate and that a conference committee be appointed.
Yeah, I got to go back and do something here. So on the first one,
Senate Bill 98.
Senate Bill 98. As conferees on the part of the House, the Speaker appoints Representative Francis, Essex, and Helgerson on Senate Bill 98.
Okay.
Now on Senate Bill 121.
All right.
On Senate Bill 121, you've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. As conferees on part of the House, the Speaker appoints Representatives Sutton, Bergkamp, and Neighbor. Senate Bill 194 appears on the consent calendar for the second day. Is there an objection? Seeing none, it will remain on the consent calendar for the third day. House Bill 2390 appears on the consent calendar for the third day. Is there an objection? Seeing none, it will be advanced to final action. Final action on bills and concurrent resolutions, the clerk will read.
HB 2390 by Committee on Taxation, an act concerning sales and compensating use tax, relating to city and countywide retailer sales tax, providing countywide retailer sales tax authority for Jackson County for the purpose of supporting hospital services in the county.
This constitutes final action on House Bill 2390. The clerk will open the roll and you may record your vote. Has every member had an opportunity to record their vote? Clerk will close the roll. Does any member desire to explain his or her vote? Does any member desire to change his or her vote? Representative Bohai votes aye. Representative Mosley votes no.
Call the House.
Seeing 10 hands, call of the House is in order. The doorman will close the doors, members will be in their seats, and the clerk will call the roll.
Howard Camp, Hubert, Kessler, Meyer, Osmond, Potter Partial, Rajas, Sawyer, Simmons, Van Houten, Wilburn.
Representative Carr votes no. Representative Martinez votes no. Representative Melton votes no. Representative Oropeza votes no. Representative McDonald votes no. Representative Alcala votes no. Representative McDonald changes her vote to aye. Any further changes of vote? Representative Carmichael wishes to explain his vote. What? No, I didn't know that.
There we go. Oh, the sound of my own voice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I vote no on HB 2390. I just want to explain to you why some of us are voting no. It doesn't have anything to do with the merits of whether they need a new hospital or not. It's the general principle that sales taxes are regressive taxes, and they fall most heavily on those least able to pay. And there are better ways to fund hospitals and other governmental services than taxing poor people at the cash register. I therefore vote no on HB 2390. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any further explanation of votes? Representative Auerkamp votes aye. Representative Rogers votes aye. Representative Wahhabism votes no. Representative Luis votes no. Not seeing 10 hands, the call is raised. Are there any further changes of vote? Seeing none, 105 voting in favor and 11 against the passage of House Bill 2390, the same having received a constitutional majority. The bill is hereby declared passed. The clerk will record the vote. Speaker recognizes Majority Leader for a motion to resolve into the Committee of the Whole.
Mr. Speaker, I move the House resolve itself into the Committee of the Whole for the purpose of considering those items under the heading General Orders.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion carries. The Speaker appoints Representative Roth to chair the Committee of the Whole.
Greetings, colleagues. It's an honor to sit up here, and as a reminder, I want you to know the three amigos are on high alert. So here we go. Let's see here. First item on the auction block is SB 27. For the purpose of carrying SB 27, the chair recognizes Representative Burkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were committee amendments. I move adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes and the committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For those of us in here, this bill might look familiar. The language in it, very similar to 2048, which we passed with over 100 votes. Essentially what it does is updates the annual report requirements for the insurance department. It also just removes certain entities that they regulate. The Senate did make one minor adjustment and they passed it unanimously. In our House committee, we did change the publication date, so just a small change. With that, I will stand for questions.
Does any member wish to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The carrier of the bill did an outstanding job of letting you know what was going on here. And again, the only thing we did in our committee was change the date of publication from the statute book to the register. And I ask for your support of Senate Bill 27. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there any further discussion? The chair recognizes Representative Burkamp for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that when the committee arises and reports SB 27 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, nay. The motion passes. The next item of business is SB 28. For the purpose of carrying SB 28, the chair recognizes Representative Burkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were committee amendments. I move adoption of the committee report.
You have heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. The committee report is adopted. Please continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, this has similar language to our House Bill 2049, which we passed unanimously over here. And what it does is it kind of gives the insurance department a little bit more ability to regulate both people with insurance licenses and public adjusters and some other technical cleanup. So nothing too major. The Senate made one minor amendment and they passed it unanimously as well. In our House committee, we did change the effective date. And outside that, I will stand for questions. Thank you.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
Again, a fine, fine job done by the carrier of the bill. Again, we did the same amendment, moving this from the publication in the statute book to the register. And I ask for your support on Senate Bill 28. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If there's no further discussion, Representative Burkamp, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that when the committee rises and reports, it reports SB 28 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Burkamp to report SB 28 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay, nay. The ayes have it. The motion passes. The next item of business is SB 42. For the purpose of carrying SB 42, the chair recognizes Representative Burkamp. Representative SB 42. Just a minute, body. There we go. And now, the next item of business is SB 32. For the purpose of carrying SB 32, the chair recognizes Representative Burkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were committee amendments. I move adoption of the committee report.
You have heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. You may continue. Committee report is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now there was no House equivalent, so I was expecting more of a resounding yes on the committee report and also on my next motion. So what this does is it lowers fees, which is a good thing, which I hope I can convert all of you to yeses once I explain what happens here. So right now, there's a 2% fee assessed on all premiums collected by the insurance department, and then 1% of that 2%, if you're following, goes to the insurance department. They don't need that 1%, so they're just saying, instead of a 2% fee, let's lower it to 1.98, save some people some money. I think it's a good thing, so I hope you all support it. The House did have one small amendment on publication date, and with that, I will stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
I can't believe he's on his third bill and has done so well. I ask for your support of Senate Bill 32, and I think our dog and pony show is up after the next bill, so I know you will all be thrilled. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
I rise in opposition to Senate Bill 32. It's Friday. I know we need to be brief here, but someone has told me that the revisers are busy scrivening on I think it's Senate Bill 16 or something that's coming up, and so we may need to kind of slow down and consider this legislation a little bit more carefully while the revisers complete their work on another bill. Or we may stand at ease, but in the meantime, my mother likes to hear me up here, Mr. Chair, and so I'm going to take advantage. I would say hi, Mom, but that wouldn't be speaking on the bill, and I'd be out of order, and it cost me $2. Oh! I could appeal from the decision of the chair, but given that it's Friday, I won't. Uh, By the way, the reason that some of us are voting against these insurance bills is because, as I have said before, this is just a blatant attempt to, in my opinion, subvert regular order and the process and create what are known as shells. And those shells are then used for gut and go and other nefarious purposes. And so irrespective of the merits of some of this good legislation, a lot of these things I've already voted for when they were called House bills, and so I'm not in the mood to vote for them again. I thought about preparing a substitute, a floor amendment to use all these bills as an opportunity to rename the Kansas Insurance Building the State Terrarium, because they're raising turtles and shells over there every day, every year. And I've probably occupied about enough time. I haven't seen a gray envelope coming up, but I hope that we will make sure that we do have an opportunity to hear what I'm told is an important amendment later in our general orders. I do appreciate your courtesy and listening to my important words here today, and have a good weekend. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If there's no further discussion, Representative Burkamp, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the lively discussion on this. Again, I think this is a good bill because it lowers fees, which I think we can all agree is a good thing, and there's no House equivalent. And with that, Mr. Chair, I move that when the committee arises and reports, it reports SB 32 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Burkamp to report SB 32 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion passes. The next item of business is SB 42. For the purpose of carrying SB 42, the chair recognizes Representative Burkamp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There were committee amendments. I move adoption of the committee report.
You have heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion passes. The committee report is adopted.
SB
Lottie, there's a little too much noise in here. We want to respect the well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. SB 42, again, it's pretty similar to HB 2047, which we passed unanimously. It deals with a web-based auto insurance verification system. So I think it's a step in the right direction. The Senate, when they looked at this bill, made very similar changes to what we did. So I think they were in agreement overall with our thought process. They passed it 38-2. When we saw this in the House, again, we did change the publication date to the Kansas Register. Outside that, no major changes. I think it's good legislation. And with that, I will stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Neighbor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, the carrier of the bill did an excellent job. I think that there's more to the story that you need to hear. Several years ago, we were in this chamber, and it was early in the morning, and a budget bill didn't pass, and there was no shell. So all of us sat on this floor for several hours while it went through the process again. A House committee, a House floor vote, a Senate committee, a Senate vote, and there was no shell. So sometimes there are instances where if we don't want to be here at 4 and 5 and 6 in the morning waiting for a shell so that we can get our work done, please consider when it does happen that this is an important thing to have so that we can all go home at a little bit more reasonable time and more safely. I ask for your support on Senate Bill 42.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask a question? So I actually like this bill, but we had a similar House bill. And so can you tell me what has changed between the bill I am asked to vote on today and the House bill that we have already passed and voted on?
Yes, so if you look at the amendments that we made in the House and passed out, the Senate effectively made very similar changes in their Senate bill. So I'd say they're materially the same. The biggest difference I'd say is on the Senate version. I think they put in a little bit more data protection requirements for what the insurance companies provide to the state. And I don't think that was in the House version, but outside that, it was pretty much the same.
And so why are we seeing similar Senate bills come back to us when we've already passed a House version?
I think sometimes you want to ensure that maybe your legislation gets done, so you put it in both chambers. I'm not always privy to, the people that introduce it and what they want.
All right, thank you. I mean, I think we all know what this is about. We're creating shells, and it's very frustrating when we pass bills that we've already worked in the House, and then we just see it come back to us in this form. And I think a lot of us are, principally voting because of the shells that are being created. But it does put you in a quandary when you really like the legislation that you're voting on. So I just wish that particularly, committees would just be more conscious of that. I know that that's the name of the game and sometimes we need shells, but we do not need to be creating an overabundance of shells. And it's very frustrating to have legislation returned to us. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Carmichael.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm still watching for gray envelopes to come up from downstairs. Actually, Senate Bill 42 is a good bill. The idea behind this bill is a good one, and I certainly support that idea. But although I've tried to maintain a humorous approach toward these shell bills, I don't know how much it costs now for every bill that we introduce. They have to be drafted. They have to be printed. The reviser spends time at it. The clerk's office spends time at it. We hold hearings in both houses. Then we go and hold conference committees. Then we gut bills. Then we send them back to the floor. But there was a number we were quoted some years ago, and I don't know if it's accurate, that it costs between $2,000 and $4,000 for every bill that's entered in the legislature. Now, by my count, I think we're up to probably around 10 instances at least from the insurance department in both houses. That's 20 bills. If it's $4,000 apiece, we're getting, close to spending $100,000 of taxpayer money to create shells when, quite frankly, the subject matter of all of these bills in both houses is the same subject matter. It could have been accomplished in a single bill. It could have been disposed of weeks ago, and we wouldn't be spending our time and our constituents' money passing and repassing the same thing over and over and over again. This is bad government. It's not what we were taught in high school about how the legislative process works. And although I try to maintain my good humor regarding bills, thank you. I appreciate the help, Mr. Chair. I know this is enrapturing to you all, and here I'm trying to be serious, but really, think about it. Do we need to be doing this over and over again? And why does it always seem to come now from the insurance department? So despite the fact that I've already voted in favor of the principles behind Senate Bill 42, I'm voting no on Senate Bill 42 because it costs the taxpayers money to continue this foolishness, Mr. Chair, and I therefore rise in opposition to SB 42. Thank you.
If there's no further discussion, Representative Burkamp, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is good legislation, so we need to ensure it gets done. Um, I appreciate the previous speakers' comments. I'm all about efficiency and trying to do things as quick as possible and spending the less amount of money as possible. Uh, But let's get this done today. So, Mr. Chair, I move that when the committee arises and reports, it reports SB 42 favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative Burkamp to report SB 42 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion passes. I will remind the body that it is Pie Day, and I know that's what all this discussion's going on about what kind of slice of pie you're going to get. But let's respect the well and those at the well, and I appreciate your support of that. Thank you. The next item of business is SB 139. For the purpose of carrying SB 139, the chair recognizes Representative Rivas.
Thank you, Chair. This bill does have an amendment out of committee, so I would move that we accept the committee report on SB 139.
You've heard the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes and the committee report is adopted.
Thank you, Chair. So this bill is basically a banking bill. It's just refines and updates the Kansas Banking Code provisions and related banking statutes to make them more compliant with today's world and the needs they have. So it's updates administrative hearing procedures for banking regulations, clarifies merger process and trust office locations, aligns trust company reciprocity rules with other states, and removes outdated statutes and conflicting provisions. So I'll stand for any questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Shu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill's fine.
If there is no further discussion, Representative Rivas, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I move that this, when the committee rises and reports that this bill is reported favorably out to the House.
You've heard the motion by Representative Rivas to report SB 139 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. The motion passes. Committee, we will stand at ease for a few moments. Thank you. Next item of business is SB 166. For the purpose of carrying SB 166, the chair recognizes Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 166 as amended would prohibit state employers from making hiring decisions.
Representative,
Yes.
I'm looking for a motion.
I move in adoption of the committee report.
You've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Thank you, sir.
Same sign, no. Okay, thanks. We got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. Senate Bill 166, as amended, would prohibit state employers from making hiring decisions based solely on an applicant's lack of a post-secondary degree. The bill would not apply to positions for which a degree is necessary and required for the job and it be in the job posting. The bill would exclude employment in the legislative and judicial branches of government and other political appointments. The bill is designed to encourage state employers to expand employment opportunities of applicants using previous work experience, testing, training, apprenticeships, trade schools, certifications, and other forms of assessments that may validate the applicant is competent for the position. If approved, this bill would take effect upon publication in the state book. With that, Mr. Chair, I would stand for questions.
Does any member desire to speak to the bill? The chair recognizes Representative Sawyer Clayton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Our caucus had a lively and kind and respectful discussion about this, during which time no members got yelled at or bullied, which I'm so grateful to you all for. But in any case, so that what we were divided on was this. We're somewhat torn about this because on the one hand, we do have a workforce shortage, and there are some spots in, in public employee positions where the degrees that are expected are a little bit too high. On the other hand, we also had some concerns because is it the state legislature's role to be an HR department? So that's sort of what we were torn on. And again, so grateful for the kind and respectful discussion. I love all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Haskins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment.
The amendment appears short. The clerk will read.
On page 2 in line 38, by striking all after E, by striking all in lines 39 through 43. On page 3, by striking all in lines 1 and 2. In line 3, by striking F.
Representative, would you like to explain your amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So colleagues, I rise up in opposition of this bill, but I have a solution that I would like to address, which is in the amendment that might clear things up. There is a workforce shortage. There is a case to be made about degree inflation, in which there are degrees being put on without to job descriptions without proper qualifications or measurement. But it needs to be noted that these job qualifications are not put on by the request of the HR manager. They're put on by the request of the hiring manager. So I don't want to make sure that we think that this is an HR problem, because the HR, the human resource director, president, really enforces what the hiring manager feels best. The one issue about this is on page 2, section sub E, lines 38, and then page 3, so lines 38 to 43, and then lines 4 and 5 on page 3. It states that if you have 2 years of experience, that is equal to an associate's degree. But those are mutually exclusive. Just because you have 2 years of work experience doesn't mean that you have the equivalence of an associate's degree. An associate's degree consists of roughly 60 credit hours. So yes, on average, if you took 15 hours a semester, you could be done in 2 years. That's where they are complement. But an associate degree is a measurement of both your liberal arts education, English, speech, math, as well as the technical skills. So my fear with this included is like it's going to encourage individuals to work 2 years and never go on and get their undergraduate degree or their degree. Also, I will inform you that it will take more than 9 years work experience to get a doctorate degree. It took me 10 years just to get my doctorate degree, and I was working the whole time too. So if the issue is that you do not want to mandate that certain jobs that don't need a bachelor's degree or associate's degree, that you want to mandate that they should not be a requirement, that's fine. But this is an overreach in the sense that it will muddy both post-secondary completion as well as it is unnecessary. So that's why my amendment is made, to just erase those areas and keep the bill as such, and then we can move forward on the bill. So I hope you support that.
Does any member request to speak to the amendment? The chair recognizes Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the intent of the bill is to be as specific as possible, so I would vote, I would urge the body to vote this down. The amendment.
If there's no further discussion, Representative Haskins, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think my argument is pretty clear. As a higher ed expert, I feel like it's important for you to be fully informed. And just for a point, there seems to be a trend that post-secondary is being scrutinized a little bit more this session. We talk about tenure and other elements of post-secondary, and this is not relevant. And I want us to all know, because I know you do, that we need to support post-secondary at all levels if we want to contain a quality of workforce for Kansas and protect the future of Kansas. So with that, I close and hope that you support my motion.
Oh, I thought you said aye. Okay, you've heard the motion by Representative Haskins to amend. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Nays have it. We have division called. The clerk will open the roll and you may vote. Has every member had an opportunity to vote? The clerk will close the roll and take the tally. With 36 having voted in favor and 77 against, the motion fails. Representative Haskins, you've got the mic.
All right, thank you, colleagues. Now I'm up here to tell you got to vote no for this, for the simple fact of two reasons. One, there is no proponent credible enough at the testimony to justify that you passed the bill. Once again, we have a bill in front of us, and it's just a special interest coming forward to say this will be right for the state of Kansas. There is no justification on the matrix that they created. Nobody in higher ed was contacted about this. And furthermore, there was no hiring manager in the state that was referred to and asked, because I would assure you that they would have a say on it. There was one proponent. That proponent was outside the state of Kansas. He did not, or they did not have any understanding of hiring practices. They just wanted to move a bill that supports their best interests. So we have to be better than that. It really concerns me that we feel that post-secondary education is a private good and not a public good, because just for example, this amendment required an attorney to write it. Yes, you could be successful without a college degree. I have never stated other than that. But the road is a lot easier if we encourage individuals to get post-secondary education. And this bill discourages that. It diminishes the value of post-secondary education. Yeah, one could say that, well, Kirk, you are a professor at Baker University. It's in your self-interest. Yeah, that's right. But I also made a career in higher education, and I'm vested into the future of our students. So I stand in front of you with someone that has nearly 30 years experience in higher ed to say that if we continue down the road in which we will know that we do not value a post-secondary credential, we will never, ever be the state that we deserve to be, which is the best state in the entire country. One last reminder, if you line 10 college graduates up here, and the facts are proven, if you line 10 college graduates up here right now, 5 to 6 of them will be gone, will leave the state after they graduate from college. That's called a brain drain. Please put the priorities. I now make a motion to send it back to committee so they can work out the details.
This is a debatable motion. Does any member wish to speak to the motion to refer it back to committee? Representative Carmichael?
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was obviously not present for the committee hearing. I've certainly heard descriptions of what happened in committee when this bill was presented. I am told that there was one proponent who flew in, or actually I think Zoomed in, WebExed in from out of state to tell us that this was a good idea, that when that proponent was asked substantive questions about who, what, when, where, why of the bill, serious answers were not forthcoming. The committee obviously did not give this bill proper attention. In addition, I strongly suspect that HR managers, the Society for Human Resource Management, other HR type authorities, educators, etc., most likely didn't know about this because of our rush schedule. And as a result, the committee passed out a bill that should have been studied and considered much more carefully. It seems to me that what happened is that an out-of-state think tank somehow got onto the committee's agenda, presented a bill that was not well thought out, that was not well supported, and as a result, it landed here on the House floor, and we're supposed to vote for it just because the committee voted it out on a faulty record. So what we need to do is send this bill back to the committee. By Tuesday, perhaps they can hold a real hearing on this bill and obtain testimony from experts from Kansas about why this bill is important to Kansas, rather than relying on a WebEx call from somebody from Florida who honestly didn't seem to know what they were talking about. I therefore rise in support of the motion to refer this bill to committee. Thank you.
Representative Haskins, would you clarify which committee you've referred this back to?
Yeah, sorry, apologize for that. I would like to refer this back body to the Higher Ed Committee.
Any member wishing to speak to the motion? The chair recognizes Representative Tarwater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, so this is a workforce development bill. We talk about workforce development all the time in commerce. I'm trying not to earn an apple. So let me just say this. These are Kansans that live in Kansas. They need a job. They're looking for a job. They have the skills. This matrix was put together by a think tank, yes, but by one that put many hours of thought into it and can relate experience to numbers of years in higher ed. And while I can respect that someone from higher ed would want to protect their position. I want to make sure that we don't force people to go into higher ed and take on tens of thousands of dollars in debt when they've already paid their dues, they've got the experience, and they can go to work right away. And it was mentioned by the previous speaker that in higher ed, once someone has a degree, 62% of the people leave the state. Do we want to force them back into higher ed and then lose them? Or do we want to give these people a job and make them constructive and productive? That's the question here. This bill was well thought out. It's been passed in several other states, and it is a good bill, and it's a workforce development bill. Let's put the politics aside and make something good happen for these hardworking Kansas. Thank you.
Representative Howe, did you want to speak to the motion? You have the mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just ask the body to vote in opposition of this particular motion. Higher education budget did not have a hearing on this bill. Like the previous speaker said, it was a workforce-related bill and was considered by that committee. So I'd ask you to reject the motion. Thank you.
Body, I will remind you that you can use the speak to the amendment button if you wish to speak to the motion. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Seeing none, Representative Haskins, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And with respect to my colleague, I agree completely. Kansans need jobs. We need to work on workforce development. This is not a motion about killing the bill as much as it is to make sure that matrix is correct, that it is not 2 years of work experience equivalent to an associate's degree. That's it. That's all we want. And higher education, the higher ed budget is the perfect place for it because they are specializing in the field of higher ed. I don't see how it's wrong if two committees work together on a bill that will grow the Kansas workforce. I think that supports the argument that we need to all be together to support. So I think that this is a good time to bring it back. Let's get it right. You only had one think tank that supported it. Kansans deserve better. And the argument that I made about making sure that students stay in the state of Kansas is because as we diminish the value of the college degree, which is concerning that it sounds like we don't want to send them to post-secondary, there is no need for our young adults, the exceptional students, to stay in the Kansas if you don't value their degree. So let's get it right, send it back. I move my motion.
You've heard the motion by Representative Haskins to refer to refer his motion to the Higher Education Budget Committee. So all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Nays have it. Nays do have it. The motion fails. We're back on the bill. And you have the mic, Representative.
I do have that mic. I do. So now what do you want to talk about? No. Have a great weekend. Please vote no.
For further discussion on the bill, the chair recognizes Representative Hoskin.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It feels great to see you up there like you've got my back, just like you do in the row. Would the carrier of the bill please stand for a question? Good morning. I'm so happy that you're carrying this bill because you have the exact expertise for the question that I'm going to answer. So if you guys will bear with me, the bill language reads in new section 3, state employers, remember this is only regarding state, it is not private entities, shall determine the baseline requirements for applicants for each job posting. Baseline requirements may include prior direct experience, specific certifications, or specific courses of instructions, but shall not include a post-secondary degree requirement except as provided in subsection C, which reads, for any job posting that requires a post-secondary degree, a state employer shall include information in such job posting substantiating the necessity of the specific post-secondary degree required. So If this passes and I was a state employer human resources head, I would assign staff to go through every single job description in my agency and prepare written justifications for any degree requirements we do have for the next time the job was posted. And you know, that sounds like a really heavy administrative burden to me. So my question for you, Representative, if you were a state employer, say the secretary of a large agency like the Department of Transportation, what would you direct your agency to do if this bill passes?
Thank you, Representative. What I would do is I would have our HR department look at those very few positions that would require a degree and focus on those, and then all the others would be, wouldn't need to be rewritten.
Okay, thank you so much, Representative. You know, I think if I was the HR head, I would also turn this bill over to the Senate Code Committee. And so I did ask 2 questions in committees of these single out-of-state entity that were characterized as gotcha questions. But when I finally got the answers, they were really quite enlightening. One was if the conferees had engaged any Kansas stakeholders to see how big the degree inflation problem is in Kansas state employment. Again, this does not apply to private business. The conferee used administrative assistants as the consummate example of degree inflation, saying that these jobs never used to require a bachelor's degree, and now they all do. The conferee answered that 0 Kansans were consulted, and guess what? KLRD did a search for me on the Kansas Job Board for all administrative assistant positions, and not a single one requires a bachelor's degree. In fact, in the fiscal note, if you'll take a look at that, the Department of Administration states that less than 15% of their employees are in jobs that require a degree, right? So we're not talking about a lot of jobs here. My other question was if there was any statute in Kansas that would keep our state employers from lowering their degree requirements. I mean, they're motivated to do that if they're having a hard time finding folks, right? So not only was the answer no, but KSA 752939, which is on your desk, already prohibits state employers from inflating degree requirements. It states, and you can see it on your desk, no standards or requirements shall be fixed with reference to education. Other things such as relate directly to the duties of the office or employment to be filled. I would like to point out also that the lobbyists for the out-of-state entity bringing the bill stopped by my office after the hearing to say that my questions in committee were legitimate and that Kansas actually does a really good job in this area, as reflected by 85% of Department of Administration jobs that are not requiring post-secondary degrees. So I posit to you, body, that this bill is redundant, creates additional administrative burden on our state employers, and that it is the antithesis of efficiency. And with that, I request an amendment which has not arrived. So what I'm going to do is just tell you what my amendment would have done. Let me get to that page where the chair would have asked me to explain my amendment, and it was going to just be to strip out all the law language about degree inflation. It would revert the bill back to the bill you see on your desk, but add section 4 with the RFPs. So since the amendment's not here, I'm not going to worry about it, and I want to thank you so much for your consideration of my thoughts on this bill, especially given the administrative burden and the redundancy in our statutes. And without my amendment, I'll be a no vote on Senate Bill 166. To me, this bill just colors in the state of Kansas on an out-of-state entity's website showing we've passed their bill, whether it makes sense for us in Kansas or not. And I won't be participating in that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Is there further discussion? For further discussion, the chair recognizes Representative Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as our ranking member said, we did have a pretty robust discussion about this bill in our caucus this morning. And so I'm actually rising in support of this bill. I think it is a workforce bill. And I honestly think that this will help give more students in my district an opportunity which they do not have today by the advanced degree requirements. So I plan on supporting the bill and appreciate you listening to me. Thanks.
Is there further discussion? If there's no further discussion, Representative King, you may close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move when the body rises and reports, they report SB 166 as amended favorably for passage.
You've heard the motion by Representative King to report SB 166 favorably. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The chair is unsure. The clerk will open the roll and you may vote. Clerk, you may close the roll. With 80 voting yea, 29 no, the yeas have it. Thank you, body. This concludes our general orders. The chair recognizes the majority leader.
Mr. Chair, I move we rise and report.
You've heard the motion to rise and report. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes.
The clerk will read the committee report.
Mr. Speaker, your committee of the whole recommends that SB 166 be passed, SB 27, 28, 32, 42, 139 be passed as amended.
The speaker recognizes Representative Roth to adopt the committee of the whole report.
I move when the committee rises and reports that they adopt the committee report.
You've heard the motion to adopt the committee report. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee report is adopted. Reports of standing committee, the clerk will read.
The Committee on Education recommends SB 47 as amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Health and Human Services recommends HB 2223 be passed. The Committee on Taxation recommends SB 51 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Taxation recommends SB 269 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Taxation recommends HB 2005 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Taxation recommends SB 52 as amended by Senate Committee be passed. The Committee on Taxation recommends HB 2336 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Taxation recommends HB 2163 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Appropriations recommends SB 125 be amended and the bill be passed as amended. The Committee on Welfare Reform recommends SB 79 as amended by Senate Committee be passed.
Is there any objection to returning to that order of business, introduction of bills and concurrent resolutions? Seeing none, the clerk will read.
HCR 5014 by Committee on Taxation, requested by Representative B. Carpenter, a proposition to amend Article 11, the Constitution of the State of Kansas by adding a new section thereto.
Speaker recognizes Representative Francis for a motion to non-concur on House Bill 2029.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2029 is the Marvin S. Robinson Memorial Highway Signage Bill. The Senate made some changes to that, and we'd like to take a look at that. So, Mr. Speaker, I move that the House non-concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 2029 and that a conference committee be appointed.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, Representative, you may close.
I close.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it, motion passes. Speaker appoints Representative Francis, Essex, and Helgerson as conferees on part of the House. Speaker recognizes Representative Francis for a motion to non-concur on House Bill 2124.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Bill 2124 was a signage bill for POW MIA Memorial Highway and the Corporal Monty Forrest Memorial Highway. The Senate made a couple of changes to it. We'd like to take a look at those. So, Mr. Speaker, I move that the House non-concur in Senate amendments to House Bill 2124 and that a conference committee be appointed.
Is there discussion? Seeing none, Representative, you may close.
I close.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion passes. Speaker appoints Representative Francis, Essex, and Helgerson as conferees on the part of the House. Committee appointments. Representative Joella Hoy replaces Representative Dan Osman on the House Committee on Commerce, Labor, and Economic Development on Friday, March 14th, 2025. The appointment expires at the end of the day on Friday, March 14th. Are there announcements? Speaker recognizes Representative Stogsdill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Democrats, we will meet Monday morning for agenda at 10:45. 10:45 Monday morning. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You would have thought there had been a large clapping going on for that one. Further announcements, Speaker recognizes Representative Miller.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's just a reminder to the South Central Legislative Delegation that we do have a town hall in Wichita scheduled for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. It'll be from 10 to 11:30. Come on out if you can make it. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Bless you. The Speaker recognizes the Majority Leader for a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, reminder, the composite photo is Monday morning at 8 a.m. We start lining up in the West Wing on the second floor, then we'll go down on the steps, take the photo. Republicans, we will calendar at 10:45 a.m. Monday, the old Supreme Court. Mr. Speaker, I move the House adjourn until Monday, March 17th at 11 a.m.
You've heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.